Normally now we'd be starting to see the big rallies that characterize American politics. Thousands of people packing into arenas. People would be going home and starting to knock on doors and recruit more people. And none of those things are happening. The US has the most cases of coronavirus in the world. The country is on almost a complete lockdown, and about 20 million Americans lost their jobs in just a 3 or 4 week period. Normally now, Trump would be getting out there to all the key states for the election, tens of thousands of people coming out to see him speak.
We will indeed keep America great.
Joe Biden is confined to his basement where he's holding briefings and doing live streams.
I'm speaking to you from my home in Wilmington, Delaware. This pandemic has impacted every aspect of our lives and every aspect of this campaign.
But that's nothing like the same as what he could be doing. The Democratic National Convention was scheduled for July. It's been pushed back to August. That's only 4 months away, and the way things are now, it's difficult to see tens of thousands of people, as it would have been, gathering for a kind of celebration of the Democratic Party. That's a big opportunity for people to donate money and also to really rile people up and get them enthusiastic about Joe Biden. The economy was going to be Trump's main selling point for re-election.
America now has the best economy in the history of our country, and we want to keep it that way.
Obviously, the economy is now in a hellish state. The recovery is going to be very important. If he can recover quickly, then that'll still work. But also what's going to be a problem is how he's handled it. Trump's been criticized for his slow response to the virus in the month of February. His polling on how he's handled it isn't very good.
52% of people think the president is doing a bad job handling the outbreak.
His briefings have been combative, defensive.
Instead of asking a nasty, snarky question like that, you should ask a real question.
He's refused to answer questions. He's attacked journalists.
You're a terrible reporter, that's what I say. That's really bad reporting.
Also, some of the swing states that he would rely on to get elected have been hit the worst by the coronavirus, Michigan and Pennsylvania in particular. In a way, the coronavirus doesn't really change Joe Biden's pitch. He started his campaign with one main message. Donald Trump is unreliable, he's a mess, and Joe Biden's a steady pair of hands.
I've been standing up to bullies my whole life, and I'll stand up to this one. I'll be a president who lifts this nation up and brings us together.
And it plays into his hands more in two specific ways. Healthcare is going to be hugely important. The number of Americans who want universal healthcare has spiked as the coronavirus has hit. Joe Biden, ironically, doesn't offer universal healthcare, but he offers a much more comprehensive package.
It covers everybody, it's realistic, and most importantly, it lets you choose what you want.
And now what we're going to see with a mass recession, the economy is going to be in serious trouble, is another bonus for Biden because he was vice president during the last recession as they dragged the US out of that. So I think that's another good pitch for him. The presidential election could theoretically be delayed, but Donald Trump couldn't enforce that himself. It would have to be voted for by Congress. And we know how divided Congress is.
Absolutely mindless obstruction going on the other side.
We Democrats are trying to get things done, not making partisan speech after partisan speech.
So would Democrats and Republicans really come together to sort that out? It seems unlikely. If Trump's term expires in January 2021, the most likely outcome is that Nancy Pelosi, leader of the Democrats in the House of Representatives, would be sworn in as president. That would be an unpopular move with Republicans who do not like her, but Nancy Pelosi would be president until an election could be held. Basically, there is no precedent for anything like this. Spanish flu was sweeping the US in 1918. More than 600,000 Americans died from Spanish flu. And in 1918, there was an election and the election went ahead. The difference was that was a midterm election. It wasn't a presidential election. And also, women couldn't vote. So the number of people who could vote was much smaller. The turnout was smaller because of Spanish flu, and there was a spike in infectious disease deaths after it. The election went ahead in the middle of a civil war, but again, only white men could vote at that point. And I think the turnout was only about 4 million. So in terms of the scale, there is no comparison. South Korea went ahead with its own election. The big difference there is that South Korea is in a completely different place in terms of how it handled the coronavirus. They allowed early voting, and at the polling sites, temperature checks on people to see if they have a fever. Early voting isn't as widespread in the US. That's done on a state-by-state basis. And it's very difficult for the federal government to then put something in place that completely covers everyone. And of course, in terms of testing and temperature checks, we've seen already how far the US has been behind South Korea